So what do we have here today? We're going to be taking a look at the HAVAL Jolion, which is supposed to be the smaller brother of the HAVAL 86. Now I use the term supposed to be because when you look at them side by side, they look similar in terms of height, length, width, and just general dimensions. Even though the Jolion does have less amenities than the 86. So it's a cheaper version. It comes in at under 300,000. The gas version starts at 229,950, hybrid 449,950, and the fully loaded hybrid 269,950. Now, given the fact that all three are under the $300,000 price point, and the fact that the upper two are hybrids, let's compare it to the Honda Vezel. In terms of height, the Honda Vezel comes in at 1590 millimeters versus 1547 millimeters for the Jolion, with 1790 millimeters versus the Jolion's 1841 millimeters, and in length, the Vezel is 4335 millimeters versus the Jolion's 4472 millimeters. So the Jolion is slightly shorter, but also slightly wider and longer than a Honda Vezel. Now let's take a closer look, starting with the front. The first thing you realize, it has a big and imposing grille. While not as big as the 86, but it also is very big. You also have a blue HAVAL logo versus the silver HAVAL logo that the gas version has. You also have this little box here that most modern vehicles are coming with right now underneath the number plate, which is the adaptive cruise control. Essentially, it looks at the road and everything to do with safety. This handles it. So remember, rectangular number plate, not a square number plate. You don't want to block this. You have that large lighting assembly here, all LEDs. Turn signals is this large strip here. You have your daytime running lights on the outer end, and you also have LED headlights in a 3-element layout going on there. On either side, you have your HEV, hybrid electric vehicle plaque. One more way to determine if it's a hybrid or a gas version. You have large 18-inch wheels, 225, 55, 18s to be exact. There was a time when all vehicles came with smaller wheels for fuel economy. 15s, 16s for the max, 17 was pushing it. Now everybody has 18s. Technology has moved forward. Here you have power folding mirrors with your turn signal repeaters and your small camera here, because this vehicle does have a 360 camera system. So you have one camera on this side, one on the other side, one to the front and one to the rear, and together the stitcher image, and you're able to see right around the vehicle. You have your rear wiper, your giant HAVAL name across there, so it's a HAVAL, GWM on the right, Jolion on the left. Up top, you have this rear spoiler lip here with these two cool cutouts on either end. I'm guessing it's for airflow. If not, it just looks cool, and that's all that matters. It looks cool. Below here, you have a rear diffuser. Again, it's one of those things where it's not really that functional because it's not a sports car, but it looks cool. In terms of trunk space, this is where it gets a bit tricky. Given the fact that it's a hybrid and there are components at the rear here, the hybrid version actually has less space than the gasoline version. The gasoline version has 430 liters versus the 390 liters of the hybrid, which is this one here. Now, both of those figures are with the rear seats folded up. The rear seats do fold down, and you can also remove the splitter here. When you raise up this cover, you don't get a spare tire. Again, it's a hybrid vehicle, and even non-hybrid vehicles have no spare tire these days. You raise it up, and all you have access to, the 12-volt battery that most vehicles come with, is located at the rear here. You just lift up this cover, then you lift up this little piece in the middle there, and you have access to the top of the battery. You have no spare tire. You have your triangle in case you break down the side of the road, a tire repair kit, a tire inflator, and that's really about it. Now let's take a look at inside the Jolion, starting with the rear door panels. You don't get much soft touch materials. For example, up top by the glass, hard plastic. In the center there, also hard plastic, but you do get a soft touch material where your elbows would rest when you're leaning on the door, and you also get a soft touch type material in there. Now, I also have to mention this because it's a toss-up. Nothing can outlast hard plastic. So you're guaranteed it's going to be there for a long time. But some people just prefer soft touch materials. It's a preference thing. So I don't think it's really a deal breaker, because how many times have you gotten into a vehicle and be like, ew, hard plastic? So it's really a preference thing. At the rear, you have two rear AC vents, no fan controls, so the front controls the rear. You also have two power outlets. So they didn't skimp on the amenities. You have to really look really hard and closely to see the difference between the 86 and the Jolion. They are there. They are definitely there. But it's not noticeable like, wow, this is a basic version of the 86. No. One thing I don't like, and I don't like it in any vehicle, you see when you have a panoramic sunroof and the sunshade isn't like totally blacked out, where even when it's closed, sunlight is coming in. Again, it's a preference thing. My personal preference is if I wanted sunlight, I would have had the sunroof open. As long as that shade is closed, I don't want to see sunlight. And yes, I know, I said it before, it's a personal preference thing, but make this material so thick that when it's closed up, no lights get in. You see what it's like? too much light for when it's closed up. But like I just mentioned, obviously, you get a panoramic sunroof. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that even though it has fallen below the $300,000 price mark and it's a smaller brother to the 8.6, you have to look really closely to see what they stripped away, because most of the basics and important amenities are still here. When it comes to legroom at the rear, I don't think anybody will have anything to complain about. I am 5'8". The base is pushed all the way back and the top half is reclined past the B-pillar, you can see here. And this is the legroom I am having. My knees aren't touching the back of the seat. And also, given the fact that it's slightly wider than a Honda Vezel, I'm assuming you'll get more room for 3 passengers at the rear. You also don't have any rear transmission tunnel, so whoever is sitting in the middle don't have to worry about angling their feet around the transmission tunnel. It's just a flat floor for all passengers at the rear. Now let's move to the front and touch on some of the safety features. Now all of these features won't be in all 3 trim levels. This is really just the Ultra. I'll do a separate video for the other 2 trim levels. So you have dual front airbags, front side airbags, curtain airbags, center airbags. You have front and rear seat belts with pretensioners, electronic stability control, traction control, secondary collision mitigation. You also have roll management intervention, brake assist, hill descent control, hill start assist control, brake override system, tire pressure monitoring, rear parking sensors, 360-degree camera, adaptive cruise control with stop-go, intelligent adaptive cruise control, intelligent cornering, and most of the other safety features are on screen now. You can pause to read it. You also get automatic window defoggers, automatic wipers, dual zone climate control with the rear AC vents that I pointed out earlier on. The passenger gets a 4-way manual adjustable seat, while the driver gets a 6-way power adjustable seat. So the driver powered, passenger manual. On the dash here, you have some important buttons, and I said some because I think the important ones are the ones that are buried on the screen, and the ones that they can have on the screen, they put out here. For example, move these, put the fan speed and temperature out here, and put some of these buttons on the screen. Because on-screen buttons are cool until you are in a hurry and you can never touch the right point. Below there, you have your wireless charging pad, so you put your cell phone or whatever other device you have that can charge wirelessly. You put it there and it will charge while you are driving. Another thoughtful thing that I think more manufacturers need to have is this little USB port on top here. Put it. This is important. Dash cams are becoming more and more popular. So if you bought this vehicle, you don't have to run any wires through the A-pillar or anything. You can have your dash cam up there and you plug it in right there and you're good to go. It's one of those things that have you wondering, why don't more manufacturers do this? Like, how much more would it add to a vehicle just to put a USB port somewhere for a dash cam? Come on, get with the times. Down below, you have even more ports. You have your standard 12-volt outlet on the left. To the right of that, you have 2 more USB ports. One is a power, one is a media. And then on top of all of that, in your center console, you have what we call the armrest. Under that, you have your little center console pocket area there. To the front of that, you have cup holders, one for a fixed large cup, one for a fixed small cup. You can close this down when not in use. And then to the front of all of that, by this wrong dial, which is your gear selector, you have these small cutouts. Now, I'm not sure what the furthest one to the left and the one to the right is for, but the one closest to the driver fits a cell phone so perfectly, just into that slot. It kind of makes you wonder, if you're not supposed to use your phone while driving, why do they make it so accessible to you while driving? You can just put your phone right there. It's literally like arm's reach away from you at all times. Maybe they were designed for something else, but I'm going to call them cell phone holders for now. People mention that I don't talk about the cup holders. Yes, you do have cup holders. In fact, a bottle of water can fit in here comfortably. On the driver's side door, you have your usual window controls, all of which are one touch up down. You have your power folding mirror controls and your adjustments, your door lock, and a small speaker grill there. You also have these controls here, which most vehicles tend to have in this location. Traction control on off, some lighting controls, and hill descent. Up top, you have LEDs for your dome lights, but no LEDs for your vanity mirror lighting. I'm not sure why. You do have vanity mirror lights on both sides, driver and passenger, but they are not LEDs, which is a bit odd because even the lights at the rear, they are LED as well. As you can see, they are white, they come on instant, but only the 4 to the front by the vanity mirrors are not LEDs. I won't say that the glove box is particularly big. I think glove boxes in vehicles are getting smaller and smaller, but most people just store documents and insurance certificates in here anyway. So if you're one of those people, it's plenty big enough to store all your documents. But is it big? No, it's not particularly big. For your instrument cluster, you have a large 7-inch all-color display, which is a lot bigger than the 3.5 found in the base model. Everything is crisp. There's nothing much to say about it, except if I were designing this steering wheel column wouldn't be that reflective. This entire lit area in the center here is the steering wheel column reflecting. So if you are driving into direct sunlight, there are very few angles that you can look at this at where the steering wheel column wouldn't be shining back at you from the instrument cluster. But that is always worst case scenario in direct sunlight, and most times you won't even be looking there in the first place because you do have a heads up display. This is what it looks like. You can change different settings like the color, how it looks. You can adjust the height in case you're a taller or shorter person, or depending on your preference where you want your eyes to fall while looking at the road. It shows you your speed. It also shows you the street signs depending on if it's an 80 km/h speed limit sign or 100 km/h speed limit sign. So most times your eye will be looking at this and not the instrument cluster unless you want to see something really detailed like a gas gauge or something. In terms of the infotainment display, you have a large 12.3-inch colored display, and what to say about it? It's very fluid. It's just like the Tank 300, the Aura 3, the Haval 86, same interface, everything. The only thing I don't like, and all manufacturers need to stop this, putting the AC controls or the bulk of the AC controls in a menu. Put the AC fan speed and temperature controls on the outside as a physical button, because while you are driving it's sometimes difficult to fiddle about with these small menus. Yes, the animations are fluid, yes, they look nice, crisp animations, but put a button. But aside from that small nitpick that I'm sure many of you can relate to, yes, you also have your Bluetooth connectivity, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. In here you can find all your safety features, things like lane keeper assist, blind spot detection, blind spot warning. All your safety features can be found in here. While we are in here, let's check out the heated seats menu. Yes, the Jolion does have heated seats. It doesn't have ventilated seats though, but both driver and passenger seats are heated. The 8.6 comes with the ventilated seats, so I guess that's one of the sacrifices you had to make to get this vehicle at this price point. You also have this menu here. In case you are a bit on the techie side, you can see precisely what is going on, whether the battery is being used or the battery is being charged. I think it's pretty cool. As a matter of fact, I think this should be the default wallpaper for this screen here. So while you're driving, you are always seeing whether you are in regen mode or not. Finally, let's take a look at the 360 camera. I know many people keep asking about the 360 cameras in different vehicles. So this is it. You can look straight back wide or forward wide. You also have guidelines in case you want to look top down. And I also have to make mention of this. You are seeing two separate guidelines. So you are seeing where the front is going to turn and where the rear is going to go while backing up or going straight. You also have this alternative view where you can look top down on the left wide and top down narrow, so you can see precisely where you're backing up. You also have the conventional 360 view where you can look to the left of the vehicle, to the right of the vehicle, front or back. And if you need even more manual control, you can go into here, and this allows you to look around the vehicle using your fingers and put it precisely where you want to go. But now let's take the HAVAL Jolion out onto the road and see how it drives. Taking the Jolion out on the road is more of the same in a positive way from GWM, in that just like the 8.6 isn't sluggish, the Aura 3 isn't sluggish, even the Tank 300 isn't sluggish, and those are heavy vehicles. The Jolion also isn't sluggish. But what powers the Jolion? The Jolion is powered by a 1.5-liter naturally aspirated engine paired with a hybrid component. Together, they output 179 kilowatts of power and 530 newton meters of torque. That is broken down as the engine 230 kilowatts and the motor 300 kilowatts. Now, while it doesn't feel as peppy as the 8.6, its bigger brother, it's not a sluggish vehicle. If you never drove the 8.6 and you only drove this will be perfectly normal to you. You would say to yourself, this vehicle has more than enough pep to get up and go. But if you drove the 8.6 and then drove the Jolion, you would definitely feel the difference in power. And after all, the 8.6 also has a turbo, so it's still a 1.5 liter, but it's a turbocharged versus a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated in the Jolion. But what does that mean in the real world? Well, you are going at 100 kilometers like we are doing here currently, and you want to accelerate even more. You get in the accelerator pedal, the front pushes up, the back slouches down, and you're off. And that's why I said, even though it's not turbocharged like its bigger brother, the 8.6, you never feel the lack of power in everyday driving situations. And I say everyday driving situations, given the fact that from 0 to about 120, you don't feel the lack of power. Above 120, 130, 140, if you find yourself down there, that is when you realize, okay, this engine is a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. But everyday driving, up hills, down hills, on the highway, back roads, because of the hybrid component always being there and lending an assisting hand to the engine, in situations where torque matters more than horsepower, you never feel sluggish. Now I know this isn't the usual POV view that you all have grown accustomed to, but I forgot my GoPro head mount home that day, so I had to mount the GoPro camera to the panoramic sunroof, and this is the view. It's not the best, but it'll have to work. Now let's talk fuel economy. The HAVAL Jolion has a 55-liter fuel tank rated to use 91 octane / premium gasoline. Now you never want to run your vehicle down to bone dry empty, so granted you always have 5 liters in your tank. So let's say you're only filling 50 liters of fuel every time you go to the gas station. 50 liters at $7.75 per liter, that's $387. The rated fuel economy is 5.2 liters every 100 kilometers, but that is best case ideal circumstances. And as you all know, we don't live in a world with ideal circumstances. So if you were to do the maths, 5.2 liters per every 100 kilometers, I would say average 700 to 800 kilometers per tank. But if you are a part of the select few that practices hypermiling, I wouldn't be surprised if you are able to get 900, close to 1000 kilometers per full up. Lastly, what we are doing here is letting the camera car merge onto the highway, get up to 100 kilometers per hour, and then I will merge onto the highway as well and see how long it took to get up to 100 kilometers an hour, which is the speed the camera car is going, and pass it. So I have merged onto the highway, and that's the Jolion coming there. That small little dot is getting bigger, it's getting bigger, it's getting bigger. Remember, the camera car is currently going 100 kilometers per hour, and that's the Jolion passing it there. All in all, I would say the Jolion is a pretty solid vehicle, pretty solid gas mileage. It's not as nice looking as the 8.6. The 8.6 has a nice grille in front, a nice layout, everything is just perfect about the 8.6. But the Jolion really isn't a bad looking vehicle also. It's just not as nice as the 8.6. It's also missing a few things that the 8.6 has. But if it had it, then there would be no reason to have an 8.6. So there had to be some difference between the two models, and I guess some things had to be left out also to get it at this price point.